Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and on today's episode, we are talking about branding photography and how, especially right now, since we're all trapped inside of our houses because of the coronavirus, this can be a perfect time to experiment with your photography skills and create some really engaging and creative content for your marketing. And it's something that we're always, when I have time, I'll practice my photography. When I have time, I'll take new photos for social media. When I have time. Well, guess what, guys? You have time now, so why don't you take out a pen and paper, because we'll be going through some tips and tricks on how to take better photos, and I'm going to give you some branding photography ideas and themes for you as well. So get ready for all of that and more on the GSMC Marketing Podcast. I would really love to encourage everyone, though, to please like, subscribe, comment, review, do all of the things you think you should for this podcast. We post new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we love doing it, and we really love hearing your guys' responses. So definitely reach out if you have a question, a comment, or a concern. So, without further ado, let's pop right into today's episode. We are going to start by talking about what is new in the marketing world. Guys, I tried really hard to not find stories just on the coronavirus. Unfortunately, that is what's happening in the news right now, so we are going to talk about it a little bit. What I would love to hear, again, write it in the review, but I would love to hear how you guys feel about me reporting on the coronavirus. If you want to hear more about it, if you want to hear less about it, let me know. That'd be really, really helpful. Our first news story of today is an Amazon delivery man has been fired after being caught spitting on a package. The package owner's Ring camera caught the man in the act spitting, then smearing the spit with his hand on the package. The Amazon worker then logs the delivery and leaves. Amazon has since called the man who had the package delivered and apologized, giving him a $50 credit on Amazon. Amazon has now also said in a statement, this is clearly not representative of drivers who deliver for Amazon and the care they take for customers around the world every day. We are aggressively investigating to understand what may have occurred in the situation. If it truly was a malicious act by the driver, we will be sure he is held accountable up through and including law enforcement action. So I don't know what else to tell you guys other than this story is nasty. I want to know more. I want to know why. I want to know why this happened and what is going to be happening next, because the recipient has also said that he would like this man tested for COVID-19, which I fully understand. What if this package was a toy for his child, or the package was something for an elderly person he lived with? There are just so many reasons why you would want that person tested. And honestly, I think a $50 credit, that wouldn't cut it for me. I'd be pretty upset. However, let's take a look at it from a marketing perspective of how Amazon immediately did jump on the story to deliver their statement, and they are making it clear that they do not endorse nor do they condone any of the behavior that was happening in the video, and they want to make it very clear to everyone that that is not normal behavior. You can continue ordering from Amazon and you will not have your package spit on. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure I've had a package that someone spit on. I'm pretty sure we all have. But when you see someone do it, especially in the current climate, it sent a shiver down my spine for sure. So what I'd love to hear from you guys is how you think Amazon handled the situation, how you would handle the situation if you worked for marketing at Amazon, if you think they handled it correctly, or if you think it could have been handled better. Please let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media. Our second news story of today is that Coca-Cola withdraws 2020 outlook amid coronavirus pandemic. Representatives at Coca-Cola have been saying that they do not expect to meet its financial outlook for 2020 due to the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The original forecast Coke had predicted for 2020 was that Coke's revenue would grow by 5% and adjusted earnings per share would increase by 7%. The company has said that it expects to provide an update when it reports in the first quarter earnings. This story really saddened me, and I think a lot of you probably also feel the same way I do, that it is scary that such a big company like Coca-Cola is seriously feeling the effects of the coronavirus. So I did encourage you in last week's podcast, but I would love to encourage you all again. Please write your small business in the review down below. Reach out through social media, connect with us, because I would just really love to start some sort of support conversation right now for everyone and their companies who are being affected by COVID-19. So please let me know in the review down below what your company is, what you sell, and how we can get in touch with you, because although we probably can't receive those packages right now, we would all really love to support you. So please reach out. Our third news story of today is that Google is releasing hands-on with 3D animals in Google Search. Google has unveiled the fantastic new 3D animals alongside a flurry of other augmented reality filters for Lens and Search. The new features rely heavily on your smartphones to place 3D rendered creatures and more within your camera viewfinder in a real life scale. So basically, you hold up your camera, you have this, and you can see like a life-size scale of a tiger or a dog, any creature at the zoo you can think of. And guys, I think this is so freaking cool, especially right now when we have so many students and young people who are home who are looking for a little bit of a connection, looking for something other than the four walls that they have to stare at all day. And this is just a really great tool to be released right now. I don't want to draw back to the Corona-19 virus, but also it's pretty cool. And I think it's a great invention and really good on Google for releasing it right now. I think that marketing was probably on point. Whether or not it was a marketing scheme, it definitely is very interesting. And I definitely can't wait to get my grubby little hands on it to try it out. What do you think of this? Do you think we're living in the future and it's great and it's fantastic? Or do inventions like this freak you out because it feels like we're living in the future? Let me know in the review down below or reach out through social media. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have my top 10 tips for how you can take your own photographs with even your phone. I do have some for an actual photographer who has a camera, but these are a lot that can be helpful for both. And I would just like to point out as well, guys, I taught photography for like 4 years, so these are not just things I Googled. I do consider myself not an expert, but I do understand that world pretty well. I do take my own photos, and so I do think I can definitely lend a helping hand. So get your notepad out, kids, because we are going to be talking about some tips and tricks when we come back. So stay tuned, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again. Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and today's podcast is all about photography. Photography is such a huge part of marketing, and it can be such an overlooked part of marketing, especially if you're a small business or maybe you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting out and you really don't know how to get started in the photography world. You understand that you need photos, you need branded photos, but you don't want to keep using those stock images you find online for free, but you don't know if you should invest in hiring a photographer, if you can maybe figure it out on your own, or if you should maybe just pay for the good stock images. Here's the thing. None of those answers are wrong. You could hire a professional photographer and get some amazing photos. You could hire an on-staff photographer and get some amazing photos. But here's the thing. You can also take amazing photos. And I highly recommend, if you're just starting out, if it's a small business, if it's something you're passionate about but you're aware that you're losing money right now rather than gaining money, then I highly recommend you take these tips, get your pen and paper out, because these are going to help you take amazing photos, even of yourself. Some of these tips are to help you take photos of yourself, but of your product, of your object, whatever it may be, these tips are going to help you thrive and create some really great content. So let's get right into it. Number one, my favorite tip to give anyone who's just starting out in photography is take more photos than you need. Here's the thing. I've gone to shoots before. I've taken one photo and then I've left. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but let me paint a bigger, better story for you. I have gone, there's a beautiful lobby in the condo complex that I live in. I have gone all dressed up. I have gone down there to take a photo of myself. I take one photo, I leave, I go back upstairs, and I'm like, that photo is garbage, and I hate it. And I have to go all the way back downstairs. Instead, take 50 photos of yourself. Take 70 photos of yourself. Take so many photos of yourself that you feel uncomfortable, like you're a self-absorbed Kardashian. If you can take so many photos that you genuinely feel like you are out of breath, like you are done, you are exhausted, that is when you've taken enough photos. This way, when you go upstairs, you're reviewing your photos, you can say, oh, I like that one, or oh, I don't like that one as much, or I like these three, or I like this one and this one. I'm going to post this one today, and I'm going to post this one next week. This way, you have a variety of options. You really give yourself time to get comfortable with the idea of taking a photo, and it'll just give you more and more practice, because a huge part of photography really is practice. Number two, focus on what's important. So again, let's use the lobby example. I go down to my lobby in my condo complex, and there are some beautiful purple felt chairs. There's this gorgeous table. There's a great couch. There's paintings everywhere. The whole lobby is beautiful. But am I trying to take a photo of a lobby, or am I trying to take a photo of myself for LinkedIn? If I'm just trying to take a photo of myself for LinkedIn, all I need is a good area that is well lit, and maybe I can include some of the fun furniture. But the fun furniture and the paintings in the background and the wall color are not what's important. I'm what's important in that photo. So if you're taking a photo of your product, yes, it can be really fun to maybe do a nice flat lay photo where you have some glitter stars on the side and some candles on the other side, make it look really aesthetically pleasing. But none of that matters. Your product needs to be front and center. So I absolutely encourage you to get creative, maybe do a flat lay image and, have aesthetically pleasing objects around your product. Make sure your product is the focus of the image. Make sure it's the most important element to the photograph. You can raise it up. You can make all the other colors complement it, but it really does have to be the focus of the image. Number three, make sure the light source is always behind you. This is a big one, guys, and it is one that people often forget. But the best way to get the best lighting, find your window, and then you stand in front of the window if you're taking the photo. If you're taking the photo of yourself, set the camera up in front of the window and you stand as you look at the window. This is the best way to make sure you're well lit, everything is contrasted nicely, and you're going to get the most amount of lighting you're able to receive. If you do it with you facing the window as like the window's on your back, then it's not going to look right. You're going to look really shadowy. People aren't going to be able to see your beautiful features. And this is the same thing with your product too. If you have it that the light is harshly on it or harshly against it, you're not going to get to see what great product you have. So it's really important to make sure the light source, whether it be a window, a lamp, a ring light, anything you may have, a flashlight if you're getting creative, is always behind you, meaning you, the photographer. Number four, if you do have an actual camera at your disposal, Here are some quick tips. Don't crank up your ISO above 800. This will give you a very low quality image and it'll look really grainy and just really, really bad. Make sure you keep your shutter speed fast and your aperture wide open. Number 5, the rule of 3. This is a photography trick, but don't worry, you don't need an actual camera to do this trick. Basically, it's the idea of this will be more aesthetically pleasing. It will make a better photo. It'll make a more engaging image if you have 3 objects, each placed within a single row of your image. So when you look at it, look at your image as if it's a square, divide it up into a grid, and then if you have 3 objects, put each object in a different section of the grid. If you only have 1 object, put it in one of the sections of the grid. The grid's really important, guys. You can Google online what the rule of 3 grid looks like if you need a better mental image of it. However, it's really simple. Divide your square up into 3 different parts. Number 6, experiment with angles. If you take a photo from higher up, you will make your object look smaller. If you take it from down below looking up, you will make your image look bigger or taller. A photo taken straight on is kind of boring and will make it look less engaging and less dynamic. So make sure you're always including levels and layers to your image. And you can do this by putting your product or yourself or your model up on a chair, up on a shelf, and then take the photo from down below. Don't just take a static image of a cup sitting on a table. If you're taking a photo of a cup sitting on a table, make sure you put things in the background so that people can really tell, oh, look at how much distance, how much texture, and how many layers there are to that photo. Number 7, too bright of lighting can be fixed in editing, but too dark can't be. This is a rule that can kind of get played with a little bit because it's not strictly a rule. But basically, if you accidentally take a photo that is way too bright, it's really easy just to turn that down. But if you take a photo that's too dark, it can be really hard to crank up your brightness without losing the quality of the image. So always try to make a photo too bright if you know you can fix it in editing later. However, tip number 8 is try to edit as little as possible. If you are not a professional photographer, if you are not a professional editor, do not try to edit your own photos to the full extent that they do. You can buy presets online. You can look up presets online for editing. Try to copy those in a style. But most importantly, guys, you don't need to over-edit your photos. Over-editing your photos is sort of overdone anyways. And honestly, it'll just sort of make it look not as authentic as you wanted. So try to do as little editing as possible. Number 9, create shapes with your objects. Now this is true with your actual product, but this is especially true if you are using a person, especially if you are using yourself. Creating shape with your body or with your object or just with layers can make a photo more engaging and can make you look a little bit more relaxed in the image as well. Number 10, practice makes perfect. Guys, this is a very similar rule to taking more photos than you need, but the truth is the first photo shoot you do with yourself, you might only get 1 good photo. But then the next time you'll get 5, and the time after that you'll get 10, and then 30, and then 40. It never stops growing and it never stops changing because you are consistently getting better. But the only way you can get better is from practicing. So if you don't feel comfortable standing in front of the camera yet, practice with a water bottle, practice with your dog. Just keep pushing yourself because when it comes to photography, practice really does make perfect. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast. But when we come back, I have some ideas, themes, and a few more tricks and tips for you guys on how you can do some really great indoor photo shoots right now. Okay, everyone, you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and on today's podcast, we are talking about photography. We are specifically talking about branding photography. Branding photography is so important to your business, especially if you're a small business or an entrepreneur who is just getting started. Even if you write a blog, you guys need a good photo of yourself for that profile photo. So I have been sharing with you some tips and tricks on how you can take photos of yourself, of your own objects, so that you don't have to spend money hiring a photographer or buying stock photos online. Now, I would like to just let everyone know that I did teach photography for a couple years, and I've been a wedding photographer for even longer, and it is definitely something that I hold very close to my heart, and I do believe that I have some serious expertise in the area, and I think these tricks and tips are really, really helpful. As well, I think these ideas for you guys are also going to benefit you. So again, take that pen and paper out, because I've got 5 ideas that will help you improve your photography and also give you some inspiration for how you can maybe do your own indoor photo shoot this weekend. Number 1, backdrops are easy to rig for an indoor photo shoot. If you've seen a really professional photo of a model or something on Pinterest that you really, really loved, and you're like, oh, I wish I had a rig like that. I wish I had that sort of backdrop. Girl, you do have it. Go into your bathroom. Your shower curtain, that's a backdrop. You can also use sheets and towels and tablecloths and streamers. The most important thing, though, is don't cling to it. If you do decide to do a backdrop photo shoot, don't stand so close to it that your back is rubbing up against it. Take a step forward. That way you create some texture and some distance. Also, try to remember complementary colors. You can look up a color wheel for yourself if you want. But guys, actually this is really funny, but if you're blonde and like light skinned, don't do yellow. That's not a great color for you. The reason it's pretty funny is because I consistently do a yellow backdrop, but I use editing to make myself stand out a little bit more, and I also do some lighting tricks. So just try to stay within your color wheel is all I'm trying to say. Number 2, props are so much fun. So placing a brightly covered prop in the backdrop of your photo can draw the viewer's eyes in and make them focus on the actual image. So use props for that, but also use props because they're freaking fun. Honestly, get some water bottles, get some balloons, get some knives, get some bananas, whatever you want. Honestly, holding something will let you do something with your hands, because the biggest problem in an in-home photo shoot is you don't know what to do with your hands. So giving yourself a prop allows you to do something with your hands. So find a prop that works for your brand and use it as much as you want. Number 3, look candid. Posed photos are super inauthentic. People are really bored of them, and you might as well just download something off of a Pixel or Unsplash or Getty Images. If you want to look candid, a really fun trick that I use, and please don't make fun of me, but you need to act like a photographer is actually taking a photo of you, even if you're the photographer. So make a joke, do some small talk with yourself. It'll make you feel comfortable, and it'll make you look less posed. Now, I'm not saying you have to go on a whole rant to yourself about, oh, the weather outside, but don't be afraid to talk to yourself. Don't be afraid to crack a joke. Maybe call someone while you're doing it if you don't feel comfortable talking to yourself. If you just try to loosen up and play with what you're doing and try not to take it so seriously, it'll help you look more relaxed in the actual image, and this way you'll be able to take a photo that is candid and less posed. Number 4, play music. Again, a really great way to spice things up, make yourself a little bit more comfortable with what you're doing, and have fun with this, because guys, photography is supposed to be fun. There's a lot of things in marketing that are less fun. I can think of like data and bills and money and monetization. That's not a fun thing you get to do. It's something you have to do. The fun thing you get to do is take really cool photos of yourself. So play some music, because this isn't a video. You can play your guilty pleasure songs completely guilt-free. Turn on the Spice Girls. Turn on Britney in the early 2000s. Whatever you need to do to feel loose and have fun. And then start dancing. Honestly, people aren't going to know that you danced. People aren't going to know that you looked silly and were having fun. They're just going to see you smiling in a photo, and it's going to look like you were having a good time, sure, but that's what you want, because if you look like you're having a good time in the photo, people are going to have a good time looking at the photo. So play that music, crank it up as loud as you want, and start having fun with it. Number 5, go onto Pinterest and look for some inspiration. I recommend Pinterest, but I also recommend Instagram. Instagram lately for me has really been the place that I've been finding more inspiration and taking some ideas from. Something that I really like to do is I go onto Instagram and I find an Instagram model or an influencer or anything like that who clearly also does at-home photography, and I try to not copy what they're doing, but I do try to at least give the spirit of what they're doing a shot. A really great example is Rachel Hollis. She has some really great poses that are just super easy to do, super easy to pull off. You're going to look great doing them. They're not going to look so candid. And guys, basically all of the photos she has ever taken, professional or with her phone, are all in her house. So it's pretty easy to get some inspiration from her. But if you are looking for some themes, why don't you try taking photos in your kitchen, doing a cooking photo if you sell a cooking product, or if you just give cooking tips on your blog. Do one in your bedroom where the lighting's really good. Do one in the lobby of your condo. Just really try to get creative with it. Get your Christmas ornaments out. Decorate the house for Christmas. Do a Christmas photo shoot. Do an Easter photo shoot. Do a spring photo shoot. There are just so many different ways for spring and summer coming up for you to get inspiration for now that you can really start using those as themes. Okay, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. I definitely enjoyed recording it, and I love recording this podcast and I love hosting it for you guys. And if you love it just as much as I do, please subscribe, write a review down below, and connect with us through social media. This has been the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.